We then get footage of the WrestleMania 8 press conference naming Hogan the number one contender for the world title. Vicious getting angry and doing some great acting, standing up before the announcement's made and then getting all upset. I'm being facetious, Matt. Don't get too excited. Vicious then leaves Hogan out to dry during a tag match against, I believe, The Undertaker and someone. Flair, thank you.
Yeah, that's right.
And then we see Sid smashing up the barbershop.
I can remember at the time being like, why? Why are you doing it, Sid?
That was so great.
They then did Sid beating a series of jobbers, and then also Virgil was one of those jobbers. But there was one bit where he threw a guy he had a guy on a kind of a stretcher and rolled him against the ring post, which was quite cool, and for the time, probably quite violent.
Yeah, I can remember at the time being scared.
I tell you, the best bit of all of that, though, was watching him destroy the barbershop and just get, like shaving foam or hair gel or whatever on his face. And I'm not sure that is what his intention was, but just it was friggin' hilarious just to see him look all serious and just have all this white shit covering his face. I was like, that's just great.
I just think it's a shame that afterwards Beefcake didn't go, just paid to have that window redone.
That's what I was thinking. The Glazers in Stamford must have been on speed dial from WWF.
So after Gene Okerlund is with Brutus the Barber Beefcake, he says that he's always seen Hogan keep his dignity, and that he's just there to show him that the people are behind him all the way. And he says he's the number one Hulkamaniac, which I thought was a bit of an insult to all the fans, if I'm honest with you.
Why is this in here? The only thing that is good about it is that obviously the fact that, is it Mean Gene you said interviews him? Yeah. The only good thing about it is that it reminds me that someone drove their knees into his face and he couldn't wrestle for years. That's the only thing that's good
very
about
harsh.
This.
It's very harsh. As much as I am understanding the sentiment, it's still very, very harsh. So, Gene Okerlund is with Sid Vicious and Harvey Whippleman. Sid says, "Shut up, you fat bald-headed little oaf," which is by far the best line of the night. It's got to be said.
And that is something I will always remember because, again, that's something I can remember at the time, like being like, God, that's harsh. That's so harsh.
So mean.
He says that he is the master and Hogan is but the learner. He promises this will be Hogan's last match. There's then an insert promo, sit down with Vince and Hogan as to whether this is his last match. Hogan says that he's the only one who can make that decision. And right now he doesn't know. But what he will know is when he finishes the match, that's when he'll be able to decide. Vince then thanks him for all the memories down the years. We then go back to Sid, who says he doesn't care about Hogan's memories and says he curses Hogan and every Hulkamaniac because he rules the world.
Good stuff, this. I like this. Sid.
I'm a big fan, really, of anything of Sid talking.
Yeah, I think his promo was really good. I liked how overly sincere the Vince and Hogan promo was. Like, it's really crap, but they're both so, like I said, so obviously, like, that after the camera shot off, they're like, you know what I mean, like having, like, it's just ridiculous. And Vince does the old proper alpha male handshake where it's like on top of his hand, he's like, thanks for all the memories, Hulkster. And then they have a little handshake, and then that's it. But it was this point where I was like, Hulk Hogan must be skinny because his mustache is skinny as well. And it's not quite the full, big, thick handlebar. It's a slightly smaller one, which is the weird WCW one that I think of. So there you go, I have that for some analysis.
I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't quite as jovial between the two of them at this point. As I said, Hogan was being quite self-serving in trying to get out of the way whilst all the steroid stuff was going on, leaving Vince in the lurch a little bit. It wouldn't surprise me if it was a little frosty at this point in the relationship between the two.
Maybe.
I found it fascinating, to be honest. I really enjoyed it. Like, I wasn't 100% sure, if this was Hogan's last WrestleMania or not. I'm trying to think. I was like, is it? Or I can't remember if it was.
You forgot the match with The Rock, but never mind.
Well, no, I mean, at the time, I bet, sorry. Yeah, so I remembered the whole Yokozuna future stuff, but yeah. So yeah, to hear them talking about, this might be, I mean, I did laugh, when they were saying, this might be my final match, because obviously in hindsight, but to hear all that and to see it, it was almost like, again, for me, it comes down to like a sort of sporting feel where, again, happens in other sports all the time, sometimes the player, person or whatever, will do their final thing before they go and sign with another company or another team or whatever. So I thought this was, a lot different, especially compared to, previous Hogan stuff we've seen. And, in a way, it was nice to see something a little bit different from that, train, eat your vitamins.
I think that's fair. I also think, in fairness, at the time, he did only have, until he came back in 2002, he did only have 2 more televised matches in WWF.
Oh, that's crazy to think now. It really is.
Because he left WWF after this, came back in time for WrestleMania 9, had the match at WrestleMania 9, and then had the match at King of the Ring. That was it. So he did have some house show matches during that time, but that was all he did TV-wise.
So how long was he gone? What year did he leave, and how long was he gone for?
So he left at this point for less than a year, because he came back for WrestleMania 9. Then at King of the Ring 93, he left again and didn't come back.
93 till 2002.
So he went to WCW in 94. So that was how long he was out.
Oh, that is a long time.
So does that mean that prior to his return, he spent more time out of WWF than in it?
No, not quite.
No? Must be near, though.
About 9 years he was out, was it?
Well, again, it depends what you're... It really depends, doesn't it? Because are you just talking, if I compare his WWF run from the end of 83...
I'm thinking of him like post-Rocky 3.
Post-Rocky 3, from his run from 83, sort of December, he turned up in WWF 83, through to, I guess June 93, which is about 10 years, just under 10 years. And I guess, similar... He was in and out of WWE, I guess, for, a similar amount of time, yeah.
Yeah, because pre-Rocky 3, he's not Hulk Hogan as we
he's not Hulkamania Hogan, no. But he was in WWF prior to that as well for a bit. So before the main event, as I said earlier on, Howard Finkel and Harvey Whippleman play out their usual shenanigans. At this point, Harvey Whippleman is Dr. Harvey Whippleman. I don't know when they transitioned him from not being Dr. Harvey Whippleman to being from being the Doctor. Of course, he would eventually go on to be WWF Women's Champion in 1999 as well, as Hervina at the time, his name was.
I do not remember that.
Probably for the best that you don't remember it. Apparently, at this time, as Dr. Harvey Whippleman, he would get out a stethoscope from his doctor's bag after a match that Sid had and check the pulse of Sid's opponents, which is an interesting thing I hadn't seen before. This is Hulk Hogan versus Sid Justice, the main event of the show, I guess, the last match of the show anyway. 18 and a half minutes long, according to Wikipedia, though it certainly did not feel that long when I was watching it, I've got to be honest. The end comes here when Hogan hits the big boot and slams Sid. He then drops the leg, but Sid kicks out at the same time as Harvey Whippleman gets into the ring. Then Hogan grabs Whippleman, throws Whippleman at Sid, but then Papa Shango emerges from the back and attacks Hogan. Shango and Sid have Hogan tied up in the ropes until the Warriors music plays and he runs to the ring and makes the save. Hogan is then announced as the winner by disqualification, and after the match, Warrior raises Hogan's hand, they shake hands, and then they do Hogan's poses together to end the show. Tom, why don't we start with you?
This is weird, this match. So I actually think that Sid's really good in this match. I think Hogan does a very good job at selling for Sid as well, especially considering that, as we kind of discussed earlier, Hogan's not as big as he has been in the past. So Sid does genuinely look like a bit of a monster compared to Hogan. First things first, going back to my action figure comparison, like I did with Roddy Piper earlier, I always find it annoying that Hogan came out with the T-shirt on with the American flag on it rather than the Hulk Rules one, which again I reckon that the Hulk Rules T-shirt was probably a bigger deal than it actually was because it was on the T-shirt on the figure.
Was the American flag T-shirt though not on another Hogan figure?
It may have.
Pretty sure it was.
It may have been on the
one that goes like that. Yeah, the bear hug
one. Yeah. But either way, that wasn't as common as the Gorilla Press Slam Hogan. You saw the Gorilla Press Slam Hogan everywhere. Everyone had it. It was you couldn't walk down the road without seeing a Gorilla Press Slam Hulk Hogan back in 93, 92, 93. But the match in itself is fine. It's kind of your standard Hogan fare. He gets pummeled by Sid and then wins. But there's obviously a fuck up, and apparently Papa Shango didn't get his cue right.
Yeah.
So that's why it's really weird that Sid kicks out, then Harvey Whippleman gets up on the apron, and then there's like a weird disqualification, and then Papa Shango comes down, and then the Warrior makes the save. It's all just a bit messy. I mean, the crowd, even though we're kind of in the dying embers of Hulkamania, the crowd in the Hoosier Dome are still so up for Hulk Hogan at this time. It's ridiculous. They're hot through the entire match. And what I will say as well was the pop when Warriors music goes is something else altogether. The crowd go mad. But what is really unusual to see is that they're doing like the dueling poses, but they both kind of stood around the ring without really knowing what to do. Like, I found that really strange. So, like, it's almost like Hogan's kind of waiting for it looks like Warrior's waiting for the cue from Hogan, but doesn't know what he's supposed to do. And it's not until Hogan's like, right, we're going to pose this way, you're going to pose this way. But even then, Warrior seems in a complete world of his own and doesn't really know what to do. He also doesn't know what to do when the tempo changes between his music and Hulk Hogan's, because he just does. Again, he's like, he must be so used to shaking the ropes and doing all of his actions in motion in time with his music, that when Hogan's comes on, he just starts having like a little dance in the ring, which is very unusual to see. I didn't think this match was bad, but the mistimed ending did take a little bit of it away from me.
I quite enjoyed this one, and for me, it felt watching it like at the time this probably was Hogan's last match. Now again, we knew it wasn't, and I felt that perhaps maybe some of the crowd knew that. It almost felt like it was watching Hogan try to win his sort of last hurrah type thing. At least that's how it certainly felt to me, and that played into it a lot for me. That the one thing that I did really like is that I think the auto cue guy, where sorting out the music messed up a little bit at the start when he didn't turn off Hogan's music for a while, and Hogan was beating up Sid while the Real American theme just kept playing. That needs to be done more often. Absolutely loved that. It was definitely noticeable, like you said, that Sid was massive. I used towering over Hogan. Part of the match did sort of remind me a little bit of Hogan and Warrior, some of the stuff in it, which was really cool because I did particularly enjoy that one. I was absolutely amazed to see Hulk Hogan go up for a choke slam by Sid. The fact that he actually took that bump, I thought that actually impressed the crap out of me, because I didn't think he'd remotely do that. So, don't get me wrong, it's not as if he got ridiculously high in the air, but he took it, and I thought that was pretty cool. Sid did hit what I have put down as the safest powerbomb I think I've ever seen. I mean, you call it a powerbomb. He just placed him gently onto the mat, pretty much. The finish was a little bit chaotic. I mean, it was okay. I mean, I can't say I liked it that much, because, I mean, I would have liked to have seen, Harvey Whippleman actually, maybe hit Hogan or something before, they go for the DQ or whatever. It's because he pretty much just came in and they were all of a sudden sort of calling for the finish. So I would have liked him to have maybe, attacked him or something like that, just to hammer the point home. I didn't get Papa Shango coming out. I was like, okay, that's, to me, felt slightly random. But, I absolutely agree with you, Tom, in that when Ultimate Warrior came out, I mean, the pop was absolute, and to the point of I actually got goosebumps. I was like, bloody hell, that's pretty cool. So that would have been something that would have been cool to have been there for live. And yeah, to see them both sort of posing at the end was interesting. And at the time, it felt like maybe this might have been, Hogan's last match for a while. So it was good. And yeah, I definitely enjoyed it. And I've quite enjoyed a lot of Hogan stuff, I got to be honest.
I didn't like it. I didn't like the match. I thought it was a bit of a nothing to me. Not really that impressed in general. It was okay. I think Sid, this is the thing, I think Sid looks impressive. Sid looks like a specimen. Then he does stuff, and I just think it's just not very good. It's not believable. It doesn't back it up in any way. He looks great. His character's fantastic, but it just cannot wrestle. And I think also Hogan is kind of phoning in by this point. He's had enough. He's got to the end of the run. He knows that the boom period is over, and he knows that actually it's in his best interest to be away from this thing. And that's exactly what happens here. That's all I really need to say about the match. What I will say about overall is that I've had a look at cage matches, timings of these matches, and they are dramatically different all the way through. Wikipedia seems to have put at least 7 or 8 minutes onto a lot of different matches. So, for example, Bret Hart versus Roddy Piper on the Wikipedia page is 18 minutes, nearly 19 minutes. On cage match is 14 minutes. The World Heavyweight title match is 25 minutes on Wikipedia, 18 on Cage Match. Which
I wonder if they're going like video package to, video package,
maybe.
like start of the
Don't know.
segment.
Seems ridiculous anyway, whatever they're doing on Wikipedia, because these Cage Match timings feel much more realistic to me.
Yeah.
This match on Wikipedia is listed as 18 and a half minutes. On Cage Match, it's 12 minutes and a half. So, which again feels much more realistic to me. Yeah, I wasn't that big on it at all. I thought that it just didn't feel like much of anything, and I've never really enjoyed this match, and it's at the lower end of the Hogan matches for me, which doesn't say a lot for it ultimately, really.
The thing that I also thought about is that, remember, there was a big theory that the Ultimate Warrior wasn't Jim Hellwig because he'd lost a little bit of weight and got a bob. He had a little bob, didn't he, rather than this long, luxurious mullet from previous years. And
he'd lost some muscle mass because, again, trying to avoid the steroids like Hogan.
And obviously puts in the same bracket as Paul McCartney and Avril Lavigne.
I didn't know Avril Lavigne was on that list. But...
There is a rumor that Avril Lavigne died or was killed in early 2000s and was replaced by a doppelganger.
Wow, amazing.
Why did they go and have to make it so complicated?
That's good. That is absolutely premium content right there. We should be charging for this stuff. That's just so good. But mind you, I don't know why we got Paul McCartney on that list. Paul McCartney did die in 1965. Everyone knows it, Tom. All right.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.